Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law. For today's story, what I want to talk about is this stabbing that occurred a couple days ago in Charlotte, North Carolina. A 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee was stabbed. Her name was Irina Zartuska. Irina Zartuska was stabbed, and for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And the whole thing is all kinds of fucked up, and I'd like to talk about it. So the police released a partial video of the incident, and I'm not going to play it because, you can see at least the major incident of what occurred. So graphic content, obviously, although not that graphic because they cut out the moment of truth in the original. So we have this guy just sitting around, sitting on a train, just doing what he does. He doesn't look well, all things being considered. Yeah, that's not great.
This stop is Scandimark Station. Please exit right.
All right. So now we have our victim enter the train. So that was before, so now the victim enters the train. And she just sits down calmly in the seat right in front of the guy. Just sits down and playing with her phone and whatever she's doing, right? So she's just sitting there calmly, taking the phone, using the phone as one does, no muss, no fuss. So she sits there, just playing with the phone. She's got her earbuds in. Everything is normal. And there's a different angle. So this is a different angle of the same thing.
Stand clear. Doors are closing. Train is about to move.
He's reaching for a knife. He opens the knife. And then he just stabs her right in the neck. You saw it. There's no reason for anything. So they cut out the moment of truth in the video they released. I haven't been able to find uncut video anywhere, incidentally, even in sites that trade for that kind of thing, but because I was curious if there was uncut video, but I haven't been able to find it. Okay, and that's, pretty much the end of that. And then the guy gets up and he says, I stabbed that white woman twice. No one else seems to really react. And he gets off the train. And so that is what happened. Now, let's talk a little bit more about exactly what happened, because the whole thing is pretty fucked up. So I did some research earlier on this. So let me pull up my research so we can go through sort of all the factual predicate of this thing and talk about this. Hold on one second. I have it somewhere. Oh, it's in my, this is going to be in this folder. All right. So here's sort of a breakdown of the situation. I have a long research. So this happened August 22nd. The person's name, as I said earlier, she was 23-year-old Irina Zarutska. Irina Zarkutska. She was stabbed by 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr., who is a repeat offender, because of course he is, with 14 prior arrests and known mental health issues, but was obviously out and about riding the train as one does. So this happened on the Charlotte Lynx Blue Line light rail, 9:45 p.m. She was taking a seat from her home from work. She sat in front of the man with the red hoodie, who was a stranger to her, according to all available information. There was no interaction between them. I mean, you literally saw the entire thing, so there was no interaction. She was wearing headphones and minding her own business, and he didn't speak to her at any point prior to it. After about 4 minutes, Brown suddenly stood up, produced a pocket knife, and launched a vicious attack. He stabbed Zarkuska 3 times, including at least once into her neck, leaving her mortally wounded. The entire assault, of course, was captured on video. And the video was so graphic that Charlotte mayor thanked media outlets for not rebroadcasting it, widely in respect for the family, although I think because they're embarrassed by the incident, to be really truthful. In the footage, Zarkuska is simply scrolling on her phone before the unprovoked attack. Panicked passengers screamed and scrambled, although there was a lot of nothing happening. Several strangers tried to rush to the aid. One man even removed his shirt to wrap around her neck. Of course, she died because, stabbed in the neck is going to be really problematic to life. Brown, for his part, walked calmly to the other end of the car, took off his bloody hoodie, and waited by the door. Not before saying, "I stabbed that white woman twice," which was caught on tape, by the way. Him saying that with the audio caught, so all that stuff. When the train halted 2 minutes later, he stepped onto a platform where police officers arrested him. Brown himself sustained minor injuries, unclear why, and was taken to a hospital before being charged with first-degree murder, as one does. The authorities have said so far to date that the attack is unprovoked and random. The Charlotte's police department has disclosed no motive, citing it as baffling act of violence. And Brown, for his part, was riding the train without a ticket. He had jumped fare to be there in the first place, which I don't know what that says about anything. He's been banned from life from the transit system. That's nice. The transit authority apparently has banned him for life from further use of the transit system. I'm sure that's really going to be effective. Okay. The Charlotte area transit system noted that no security personnel were in the train car, but they were in a different car of the train. City members, the council called for more increased patrols and stricter fare enforcement. And of course, this spurned debate about what there should be done to promote safety. Now, this is interesting, or at least notable to me, because this person, of course, has a violent history, right? If it had been somehow the guy's first crime ever, he's just going to, jump immediately to the unprovoked murder, then, that's not great. But, what are we supposed to do as a society to protect against that, right? We can't pre-crime people, right? So if this was his first crime ever and he just decided to meet, for first crime, I'd like to just stab someone in the neck for no reason. There's not much we can do about that. But of course, that isn't the case because that would be insane. And it's not that insane. So the real question is, why is this guy allowed to be out on the street in the first place? He's been arrested at least 14 times previously. Going back to at least 2011, we've got armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking, entering, assaulting, communicating threats, shoplifting, and other charges. In 2015, he was convicted of 2 separate incidents involving a robbery with a dangerous weapon and larceny, for which he served a prison sentence of 5 years. Upon release in 2020, he quickly reoffended. So and I think it was really quickly, based on my earlier report, I think it was almost instantly. He was almost instantly after he was released, he assaulted his own sister, but that for some reason never resulted in a court trial or conviction. So that was exciting. So we've got this guy with the armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking, entering, communicating threats, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and all the rest of it. 14, including multiple felony convictions, 14 charges, including multiple felony convictions, and he's out on the street, out and about, with mental health problems. So this is, just fucked up. In 2025, he was arrested for misuse of the 911 system, which was linked to his mental instability eventually. But of course, he wasn't, held on a psychiatric hold. His 911 calls, he repeatedly called 911 saying some sort of man-made material was in his body. And when they couldn't assist him, they kept calling, leading to his arrest. He was also trespassing on hospital property during a mental health crisis, but he wasn't committed, he wasn't held, and he was released on bond after being charged with the 911 misdemeanor. So, no one gave him any help or mental health treatment. So, another catch and release. His own mother apparently had been alarmed by his deteriorating sanity to the point at one point she pursued involuntary psychiatric commitment for him after the last term. So his own mother was so worried about him that she tried to pursue involuntary commitment. A court-ordered evaluation led to Brown being diagnosed with schizophrenia, and the mom had her banned from the home. He became homeless thereafter, cycling through encounters. The police confirmed they encountered Brown at least 3 times, referring him to unspecific resources, but never sustained treatment. In 2025, when he was on trial for the 911 misdemeanor we alluded to earlier, the judge ordered a psychiatric examination, but for some reason that is not clear, that never happened. Right? So the judge thought he might be incompetent to stand trial and ordered a psychiatric evaluation, but for some reason, that evaluation never actually occurred. So that's super exciting. So we're not even following up on court orders, and it was only 6 weeks later with the fatal stabbing. So the whole system is basically fucked up. It's completely fucked up. So there's every indication, his own mother tried to go after him for involuntary committal, but that didn't stick. A judge ordered a psychiatric evaluation, but that didn't stick. So the whole thing is pretty fucked up. Brown's mother, of course, has blamed the system, and to be honest, she has a point, right? I mean, the system has had a lot of interactions with this person and been unable or unwilling to do anything about it, so that's discouraging. Local officials have conceded what they're calling cracks in the system. I think that's an understatement. The district attorney apparently has acknowledged the difficulty of handling defendants like Brown, who oscillate between jails and psychiatric hospitals. The district attorney says there are legal constraints. But of course, 14 arrests, including violent convictions, so one wonders why he wasn't in jail for a longer period of time. Of course, this is unfortunately not unique to Charlotte. Due to bail reform and other measures, as soft on crime, there have been a number of situations that are at least comparable. From New York City, where we've seen incidents with dangerous people being released and causing danger, to Baltimore, to Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland. There's a lot of problems in a lot of these cities that have become soft on crime. Whether it's due to bail reform, reduced sentencing, diversion, defunding the police, right? All these things have just been problems. So yeah, and then it just there's something also particularly ironic, or particularly, I guess ironic in a dark way, with a Ukrainian refugee escaping war-torn Ukraine, only to be stabbed on a bus or train in Charlotte. That's I was afraid of the Russians, and what actually got me was an insane black guy stabbing me in the neck for no reason in Charlotte. It's man, I don't know if we're on to some Final Destination shit or something, but Jesus Christ, that's hardcore, man. Also, of course, of note to me in the whole thing is how the media has responded to this or not. which has been incredibly annoying to me. Most major media organizations have not said anything about it at all. So there is a huge double standard when you compare it to other crimes, particularly with white on black crime, in which they talk about it endlessly. But the media here is nowhere to be found, which is particularly rich, I suppose, in so much as this is a Ukrainian refugee, which is also an interesting juxtaposition. Because, all the people with the Ukrainian flags in their bios are nowhere to be found when it comes to this story. So we care about Ukrainians, except we totally don't, in both the mainstream media and social media. The Ukrainian flag people have been suspiciously silent about this whole thing. Musk, of course, wrote a post comparing the situation of George Floyd murder, which is, reasonable in terms of the outrage, right? George Floyd dies and everyone goes absolutely cray-cray. Ukrainian refugee gets stabbed to death, no one cares. And of course, the New York Times apparently has not covered it at all. CNN basically didn't cover it. They published a very short segment about it, but then basically, and it wasn't front page at that. So the Washington Post, BBC also called out for giving no coverage. Conservative-leaning international outlets have reported on it. Social media has exploded with accusations against liberal media for turning a blind eye, which, they have. Daniel Penny case in New York, also notable as comparison, right? Daniel Penny, as you remember, white ex-Marine, subdued a black homeless man with a chokehold, resulting in the death. That incident, of course, received wall-to-wall coverage and is at least somewhat comparable, right? In both cases, you have a mass transit death, one of which we know is justified because the jury found it to be justified. And the other one, there's no justification here at all. So, Penny, of course, Daniel Penny was charged and resulted in extensive discussion about race, vigilantism, and homeless. But in this case, there are no marches or think pieces and basically no headlines. So the double standard here is incredibly, incredibly real. As I mentioned earlier, the Ukrainian refugee angle is particularly rich because all the, Ukrainian flag people you would expect to be out there. But, none of the Ukrainian flag people seem to be commenting about this. Of course, critics like myself will say that this is due to the fact that it doesn't fit the profile. So they don't really care about Ukrainians. They just care about the things that, that fit the profile. So Elon Musk's amplification has given the issue some visibility, of course, by tweeting it multiple times to his visitors and arguing, of course, this person should get the death penalty, which they totally should. I'm happy to help in that. If they need someone to help carry that out, I'm available. There has, of course, been some coverage in local press, but not much. And of course, the media and the mayor has discouraged any sort of coverage of it as well. Let's see what else I had in my research on this issue. So just basically that's a failure of criminal justice, but, basically the whole thing. So, yeah, the whole thing's fucked up. It's fucked up on 3 different levels, right? It's fucked up. So basically this story is fucked up for 3 reasons beyond the obvious. It's fucked up for 3 reasons beyond the obvious. One is this guy's extensive past criminal record and the fact that he was not in prison, basically on a 3 strikes policy or similar, and that he had been flagged for mental health, and also that no one seemed to care, all the rest of it. It's also notable, of course, in its completely unprovoked nature. That'd be the second reason it's notable. And the third reason is that, the media, including the social media, including the Ukrainian flag people, are nowhere to be found. So that is basically what I have to say about the story. This is a completely unjustified, unwarranted killing. And although the person who did the stabbing, of course, is responsible, I think in this case it is appropriate to blame the system, because the system had multiple opportunities to corral this guy because of his extensive record and didn't. He shouldn't have had the opportunity to stab anyone on a train. But he did, because the system, at least in part, failed. And we've seen failures like that in other major cities because of the soft on crime attitude, defunding the police, and all the rest of it. And so all those things. So the system is at least partially to blame in the situation, because the system is not treating repeat violent criminals with multiple felonies appropriately. You know, it's like there was the three strikes idea was a pretty decent idea, man. Because like if you're committing 3 felonies, you know, we gotta have our conversation, man. And the lack of media coverage, of course, is incredibly disturbing, as it is. Apparently, lawmakers want a judge removed for some reason. We'll take a look at this.
Infuriating, it's heartbreaking, it gives you a feeling in the pit of your stomach.
First today at noon, as Charlotte city leaders roll out new security changes on the light rail, the deadly Blue Line stabbing has lawmakers and federal government officials full attention in the nation's capital. House Speaker Mike Johnson is the latest lawmaker to weigh in on last month's deadly stabbing. He spoke during a news conference this morning, saying the suspect accused of killing a woman on the Blue Line shouldn't have been free in the first place.
No shit.
The U.S. Justice and Transportation Department are stepping in. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy confirms he is launching an investigation into the deadly incident. Duffy said online, repeated instances of violence may result in the federal government withholding funds from public transit systems.
If I were DOJ, I'd be scouring my books right now to figure out what I can charge this guy with. There's got to be something I can charge this guy with. He's on a train. That's got to be affecting interstate commerce. There's got to be some way I can prosecute this guy. If I'm the feds, there's got to be a way.
A statement from the White House called it a, quote, shocking act of evil. The Trump administration blames Democratic lawmakers and judges, Governor Josh Stein and former Governor Roy Cooper. Queen City News asked White House officials if Trump plans to order National Guard troops to Charlotte, and we did not get an answer. Instead, they directed us to the president's prior statements.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
Fair.
North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis posted to social media, also placing blame on the justice system in Mecklenburg County. He says, quote, in Charlotte and other cities across our country, communities have seen the tragic consequences when weak on crime judges and prosecutors fail to hold violent repeat offenders accountable. The horrific murder of Irina Zatruska should have never happened, and I send my deepest condolences to her family. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed on X his department is looking into the fatal stabbing, hinting at a report or statement with more information to come soon. And new at noon, Congressman Tim Moore is calling for the removal of the judge who initially released the suspect in the deadly light rail stabbing. Officials say DeCarlos Brown has a lengthy criminal history. He was released by Judge Teresa Stokes on a promise to appear when the deadly incident occurred.
They released this guy on an ROR? The guy with multiple felonies they released on an ROR? With the mental health problems they released on an ROR? Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
In a statement sent to Queen City News, Congressman Moore says Irina Zhetruska's blood is on the hands of every single person who made it possible for this monster to walk free. Moore also introduced legislation to end cashless bail. Meanwhile, Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles says CMPD will step up their patrols of key areas along the CAT system. The transit agency will also have more private security personnel on the Blue Line platforms and on the trains. They will focus on the safety and fair enforcement. CATS also plans to add 30 more security officers within the next few months, and transit officials will present a plan to the City Council at the City Council's September 22nd business meeting to expand the agency's authority to provide security.
Queens.
Yeah, story's pretty fucked up. That's a nice touch. The judge released him on his own recognizance with the multiple felonies, man. But you promised to appear with the 14 felonies on your record. What judge would do this? Apparently, there are judges that would do this. I'm amazed. Why am I constantly shocked and amazed when I hear things like this? You know, I was under the impression that, that not so much. But I guess some places, man. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, you got 14 convictions, including mobile felonies. You're released on your own recognizance. Wow, that's special. Well, my friends, I guess I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Yeah, I bet the feds will charge him with something. Yeah, they'll figure out something involving interstate commerce. I'm sure they'll figure out something. Blah blah blah. Because he's on a train. Oh, they'll figure it out. Yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah. So the feds will. Let's see if we can ask ChatGPT real quick. Let's just ask it real quick. What federal charges are possible here? He didn't have a ticket? Yes, I'm well aware. Yes, I'm well aware that he didn't have a ticket. Yeah, we'll charge him for the fare evasion too on top of it. Yeah, while we're at it. The mayor election is today? Hilarious. That's probably going to change people's votes at the polls. Let's see what we got. Yeah, we'll plead you down to fare evasion. Yeah. Yeah, the first degree murder is going to be a problem. Yeah, he's going down for first degree murder without breaking a sweat. He's going, yeah. The only thing he has is mental defense, which, to be fair, he's a better shot at it than most. But the only alternative is he gets committed for life. So, whatever. Some of the books from Railroad. Oh yeah. I'm just asking ChatGPT real fast what it thinks. Let's see what it says. I'm going to nail him to the wall. Terrorism. ChatGPT is concerning terrorism right now. It's like ChatGPT, you got to slow your roll on the terrorism thing. Yeah. You got to slow your roll on that. Yeah. It's definitely taking his time thinking, man. ChatGPT seems to be focused on section 1992 a lot of 18 code, chapter 18. Terrorist attacks and other violence against railroad carriers and against mass transportation. Sounds promising. A7. Whoever, in circumstances described in subsection C, knowingly and without authority, commits an act including the use of a dangerous weapon with intent to cause death or serious bodily injury to any person who is on property described in paragraph A or B of 4. Tunnel, bridge, viaduct, trestle, track, signal station, depot, world structure of appurtenance used in support of railroad carrier, garage, terminal, structure, trap of garage, terminal, structure, track, supply, facility, use of mass transportation vehicle. Yeah, that works. Yep. So you get A7 there. A dangerous weapon with intent to cause death. Yep, that's easily works for it. Whoever commits an offense under subsection A in circumstances which the railroad or mass transportation was carrying a passenger or employee at the time of the offense. Yep. Railroad was carrying no. The offense was kidnapping, no. Intent to cause danger, reckless danger, hazard, no. Yeah, shall be fined on this title for any term of years or life. Nice. That could work. Up to 20 years ordinarily if death results any term of years or life. Yeah, if death results 20 years or life, any term of years or life. So it's potentially a life sentence. Yeah, under 1992. I like it. Works. Hate crime under the Matthew Shepard Act? Maybe. If you can prove it's a hate crime because of race, maybe. Matthew Shepard Act is worthy of a try. Civil rights alternative? No. General murder doesn't work? No. Entering a train doesn't work because it's not, no. Yeah, so 1992 works. Yeah, charge them under 1992 on the Matthew Shepard Act and see what we can do there. Yeah. Yeah, we can get a life imprisonment. Yeah. Whoever willfully causes injury to any person using a dangerous weapon because of perceived race shall be imprisoned not more than 10 years. Okay, so charge them with if you can prove it's because of race, you get a 10-year hate crime under the Matthew Shepard Act. Cool. All right, great. So potentially life by the feds under 1992. Great. Charge them with that. That sounds fun. Yeah. And terrorism is not going to work because there's no evidence of terrorism here or intent to cause terror. So yeah, I think that's fine. All right, charge them with that and send them to like a really bad prison. All right, great. I'm going to sign off for now. I hope you've enjoyed this coverage. I've enjoyed it as much as I can. I'm going to sign off and try to do other things with my time. I've been on Civil Law. Till later, my friends. I hope all is well. Cheers for now, my friends, and goodbye.